This video is going to be on seller customer service, which is selling a home for a FSBO, which means that you are going to be representing the buyer. This is to make sure that you get paid for the deal. So I'm on web forms. This is form 201. I'm going to open it up. So this is the commission agreement for a property not listed. Now, when you are giving this to a FSBO, you are going to accompany it with the offer, whether it's a 100 or 101. As well, you're still going to put in a 320, okay? So you want to put in as many forms as you can saying that they agree to pay you whatever the commission is, okay? So I'm going to fill this whole thing out with you. Again, the brokerage is always going to be the person representing your buyer or your seller. You are simply a representative of the realty firm. So let's just say that I am the seller and I'm going to be selling 1330 Jelna. And it will be for the buyer. So today, this will commence at 11 a.m. Today is the 29th. So you can see right now it's 10:51, so it's going to commence at 11. And usually when you're doing that, you're going to make it however long the conditional period is, if there is a conditional period. So let's just say 10 days or whatever, close enough. Okay? So when you are buying a for sale by owner, I personally always try to get more money out of them than if I was buying a house listed on the MLS. You know that they have left themselves exposed, and I'm not saying take advantage, but you might as well get paid more if you can. So I always try to go in at 3%, and if they say, whoa, that's too high, I say, okay, I'll cut you a deal and I'll give it to you for 2.5%. So right here, you're going to put 2.5%. Now, this one, the holdover period is especially important if you're doing a FSBO, because if your buyer goes back to the property after the conditional and they make a deal without you, then you just got screwed out of your commission. So I would always put 90 days. So if my buyer happens to go back within 90 days of our agreement expiring, they're still responsible to pay me a commission, because at the end of the day, you always want to make sure that you're covering your own ass. The rest is going to be just standard, okay? So I'm going to go over everything and I'm going to explain it page by page. And this is what I'm going to just pretend that I'm in front of the seller right now and I'm going to explain it to them. So Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I am going to get you to initial here saying that you're not in an agreement with any other agent. Definitions and interpretations. So seller will be known as the vendor, buyer will be known as my purchaser. You are going to pay me 2.5% commission, and there is a holdover period for 90 days. So if my buyer comes back within 90 days of this deal not coming together, then you are still going to be responsible to pay me 2.5% commission. You as the agent will initial here, get your seller to initial here. Okay, so we're going to go to page 2, representation and customer service. So you understand that I do not represent your best interest. I represent my client's best interest, who is the buyer. However, I need to be ethical, legal duty to exercise due care. So I can't give you any false information. And I need to not misrepresent in any way, shape, or form. So you still have to give them legal duties. So the deposit is going to go to my brokerage, which will be held in trust. If they put up an argument over that, you can always get the deposit to the seller's lawyer in trust as well. Finder's fee doesn't really pertain because you're just representing one buyer on this. Insurance, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, make sure that you have the property insured just in case somebody gets hurt. God forbid, it is still your home, and if they want, they could sue. I personally have never seen this, but it's something to think about. Verification of information, I'm going to ask you to show me your license so I can verify you are who you say you are, and I'm going to put that in my FinTrack as well. Use and distribution of information, so go ahead and read that. I mean, long story short, you just say the office is going to have your information. Family Law Act, if this is a matrimonial home and I am on title but my wife lives with me, then that will fall under the Family Law Act, and my wife will have to sign as well. Successors and assigns, this is where you say to them, God forbid something happens to you, this is still a valid contract. So I've never had this happen, so I can't really say how it works completely, but if somehow, some way, I died and this went to power of attorney, as far as I know, the sale would still be processed. It might take a little longer, but it will still be processed. Conflict or discrepancy, long story short, I just say you can always call my boss, my broker of record, and they will handle any situation. Electronic communication, electronic signature, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, we're in 2019, so I'm not going to come sit face-to-face at a table with you guys every time. I'm not going to call you guys every time. Sometimes we'll text, sometimes we'll email. Sometimes I'll send an offer over email and get you to sign it. Now, 14 is a big one in my opinion because you want to market as much as you can. Sold signs in the ground are a good thing. They show other people driving by that you can get the job done. So, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I would like to put a sold sign on your front lawn, and if you are okay with that, I'm going to get you to initial here. So I'm going to go back up here, you initial here, get them to initial here on page 2. Same thing with any other agreement, okay? You get them to sign. I'm going to sign the declaration of insurance. You get them to sign here. Date, same thing as any other offer. So again, always ensure you want this filled out, and then you also want to fill out the agreement, which is either a 100 or a 101, as well as a 320. Okay, so you should have, when you are dealing with a for sale by owner, you should have FinTrack on both the seller and the buyer. You should have receipt of funds. You should have this right here, the 201. You should have the agreement of purchase, the cooperation and confirmation. You should have a buyer's rep and working with a realtor for both of them. Now, again, keep in mind, working with a realtor, you are not representing the seller's best interest, so you are going to get them to sign as customer, not client.